Have you ever noticed that even though the day and the topics change, when disagreements or arguments arise, you and your partner seem caught in the same predictable pattern of disconnection? Couple therapists refer to this pattern as the negative cycle. Negative cycles are entrenched patterns that result from wired-in relational tendencies interacting with each other, along with the cumulative effects of unmet relational longings, unclear signals, reactive emotions, and often unprocessed pain. After manifesting numerous times, these patterns become like a powerful snowball rolling down a hill, gaining a life of their own and harming the relationship. What is the anatomy of your negative cycle? All negative cycles, no matter the form, contain the following essential components: the inner threat detector, triggers, emotions, behaviors, relationship-based negative narratives, and contextual factors. Although we'll examine each element separately, it's crucial to recognize that they form an interconnected whole. Let's get started. Our inner threat detector. If the brain had a motto, it would likely be akin to the words of Star Trek character Mr. Spock, who famously greeted and took leave of others with the salutation, "Live long and prosper." Since the brain's main objective is to protect us, it maintains a particularly sensitive monitoring system that is constantly on alert, scanning for threats. This threat detection system is an important piece of the anatomy of the negative cycle. It is largely subconscious, operating outside of our awareness. Stephen Porges, a well-known neuroscientist, refers to this latent subconscious monitoring as neuroception. The process involves our nervous system being responsive to what is happening both in our environment and within ourselves, as it looks for cues of safety or danger and responds accordingly. Neuroception activates the physiological changes needed for us to connect with others, engage in fight or flight responses to danger, attempt to appease or pacify a threat, or shut down for survival. Our romantic relationships are deeply influenced by our brain's internal threat detection system. This system is perpetually active, scanning for cues that might signal danger, including threats to our attachment security, the felt sense of whether we are in harmony with one another or not. It continuously evaluates our interactions, questioning, is what I am seeing, hearing, and experiencing with you a threat to our connection? It signals to us whether we should draw closer with an open heart, freeze up, not knowing what to say or do, just appease our partner to get the conversation over with, or pull away in defensiveness. Triggers. Once our inner threat detection system, or connection-disconnection radar, as I refer to it in the context of relationships, gets a blip on the scanner, you know you have been triggered. A trigger is any behavior, word, sound, image, event, or situation that ignites a jolt of energy in your body, causing an immediate emotional reaction. The reaction can be big or small and can last for a short time or a while. It is often the moments we get triggered that allow the snowball of the negative cycle to start rolling down the hill. Triggers happen very quickly and are largely beyond our initial control. This is because they activate the older part of our brain, the limbic system, which is closely linked to our visceral emotional responses, rather than the rational command and control center known as the prefrontal cortex. Given this neurobiological reality, despite the often heard statement, "No one can make you feel a certain way," that is simply not the case. It's like saying that no one can make you catch a cold. That is plainly not true. Just as our partners can transmit a cold to us, they can also trigger a cascade of stress hormones and emotions within us. While it's essential for our partners to take responsibility for their actions, it's equally important for us to own our triggers and how we respond to them. Just as we are responsible for hydrating, resting, and caring for ourselves when we're sick, it is also our duty to manage the after effects of our triggers. The following chart depicts specific triggers that fall within these categories. As you view the chart, think about which of these might be triggers within your relationship. Triggers related to autonomy, perceived control or domination, invasion of privacy, being overly criticized, excessive demands, pressure to conform, disrespect for personal boundaries, making unilateral decisions. Triggers related to connection, feeling neglected or ignored, lack of emotional intimacy, inconsistent or absent communication, perceived lack of support, use of a harsh tone, withdrawal of affection, not feeling prioritized. Emotions. When our inner threat detector senses danger, it triggers an array of emotions. These emotions are the fuel that propels the negative cycle to take off, like that of a rocket. One partner's anger can trigger the other partner's anger. One person's shame can trigger the other partner's sadness. One partner's fear can create anxiety in the other. One partner's joy can trigger the other partner's happiness. Our emotions profoundly impact each other. The following chart details the wisdom that our basic emotions can bring into our lives. Generally speaking, emotions serve to communicate information and stimulate us to act in some way. As you read through the chart, note the emotions you have experienced in your relationship lately. The wisdom of your emotions. Sadness tells us there has been a loss, moves us to seek solace, nurturing, and care from others. Fear tells us there is danger, moves us to fight, take flight, freeze, or fawn. Disgust tells us something is toxic or foul, moves us to turn away from and avoid it. Joy tells us an experience felt very good and rewarding, moves us to open up, stay engaged, or share with others. Anger tells us a goal has been frustrated or something is unjust or unfair, moves us to right the wrong and make a change. Guilt tells us our behaviors or thoughts are contrary to our values or those of our community, moves us to reconcile, make amends, and restore relationships. Unhealthy shame tells us we are wrong for our behaviors or thoughts, which are contrary to our values or those of our community. Moves us to hide, attack ourselves or others, or engage in run and numb activities such as defenses or addictions. It is common for the negative cycle to escalate because one partner deems another's experience as ridiculous or irrational. When a partner completely invalidates their partner's experience, it fuels more hurt and what they might deem as negative emotions. And around they go. Primary emotions are our core emotions, namely anger, sadness, shame or disgust, fear, surprise, and joy. When someone recognizes and validates these primary emotions, it's as if they have truly crossed a bridge into our experience, leaving us feeling deeply understood. When mapping the negative cycle of communication, it's crucial to honor and express what genuinely feels true. The aim is to vulnerably share with our partners both primary emotions and core emotional experiences. Secondary emotions, or secondary emotional experiences, on the other hand, act as responses to these primary emotions and primary emotional experiences, often masking or hiding them. For example, the intense and fiery emotion of anger might merely be a facade for the underlying, more vulnerable feelings of sadness, shame, or fear. Jealousy or envy might cover deep-seated fears of inadequacy or abandonment. Shame could be disguising sadness or regret. Here are several primary emotional experiences we can have during and after our conflicts. Fearful, insecure, powerless, rejected, alone, unwelcome, exposed, unvalued, distressed, ignored, threatened, confused, shamed, insignificant, solitary, despondent, ashamed, wounded, sorrowful, disappointed, overcome. Behind the array of emotions lies our relationship longings. For example, if we felt sad because our partner was spending more time at work and less with us, it signals a longing for our partner to want to spend more time with us. If we felt shame because our partner pointed out how neglectful we had been in our parenting duties, this indicates a longing to not feel judged, to be accepted, and to be reassured that we are good parents. If we felt angry that our boundaries were not respected when we expressed the need for space, it points to the obvious. We need our space respected. If we felt fear about the future, unsure if our job was secure, we might long for a hug or a word of encouragement. If we feel joy, we long for our partner to share in our joyful experience and celebrate with us. When we find ourselves caught in the negative cycle, we are not just experiencing feelings, we are also acting from them. Remember, each emotion has associated action tendencies that typically prompt us to act in particular ways, likely perpetuating the negative cycle. For instance, some people move toward conflict while others move away. Some may express disdain with an eye roll, raise their voices, or air every grievance at once, effectively throwing in the proverbial kitchen sink. Others may speak softly, attempt to placate, or resort to crying, begging, or repeating themselves until they feel acknowledged. A few might even resort to physical expressions like smashing objects or abruptly leaving the scene. There are many different behaviors we might engage in during the heat of battle. Below are examples of behaviors and actions we might engage in at the start of or during the negative communication cycle. Behaviors or actions: blaming or pointing out mistakes, yelling, ignoring or withdrawing, expressing frustration or anger, getting angry, giving the silent treatment, seeking information, asking questions, withholding information, becoming critical, expressing disapproval, overreacting to feedback, advising our partner how to change, not listening and numbing out, avoiding responsibility, suggesting improvements, problem solving, being dismissive, labeling our partner as the problem, freezing or not responding, jumping to conclusions, demanding attention, staying calm and reasoning with our partner, overanalyzing situations. Relationship-based negative narratives. So far, in dissecting the negative cycle, we have explored the threat system, triggers, emotions, and behaviors. If we could press the pause button during our tenacious tangos, we would notice that our thoughts or beliefs about ourselves and our partners also contribute to the persistence of the negative cycle. Now, we will examine the relationship-based negative narrative that arises during our conflicts. We can think of the relationship-based negative narrative as a hit song that plays on the radio in our minds when we are in a threat state and feel harmed by our partner. Here are some examples of lyrics, thoughts about our partners when we are getting caught in the negative cycle. They are selfish and don't care about me. They will never change, and I have to live with this for the rest of my life. They are crazy and so emotional. I better just stop saying anything because it never goes well. Screw them. They are such an abusive gaslighter. They're just using me. They don't care about my feelings. Here are some examples of lyrics, thoughts about ourselves when we are getting caught in the negative cycle. I'm always the one trying harder, and it's never enough for them. They must find me unattractive or unworthy. Why else would they ignore me? Every time I open up, I just get hurt. It's safer to keep to myself. Why am I always the problem in this relationship? I can't do anything right in their eyes. I'm always disappointing them. Uh-oh, what the heck did I do wrong now? No matter what I do, I'm never going to be good enough in their eyes. I am too good for them. I deserve way better. I am so low on their importance list. Screw them. Here are some examples of lyrics, thoughts about our relationship future when we are getting caught in the negative cycle. This is too hard. We're never going to find a way to get past this. We're stuck in a loop, and there's no way out. Why bother trying? They don't really love me. It's only a matter of time before they find someone else. I can't make them happy, no matter how hard I try. I'm always going to disappoint them. I feel trapped. There's no future for us if things stay like this. We're too different and don't have enough in common. It's unrealistic to think we can bridge this gap. Just as certain songs can get stuck in our heads, these negative narratives often play on repeat in our minds. Being aware of this is crucial in order to break the negative cycle. Let's now turn to the final essential component of the negative cycle. Contextual factors. We may think we are arguing over one specific issue, yet often it's the unseen dynamics that maintain or trigger our negative cycles. These include power dynamics, financial stress, cultural and parental expectations, medical issues, racial trauma, existential questions, the impacts of patriarchy and gender norms, past trauma, chronic pain, unresolved grief, work pressures, and complex family relationships. Now that we have explored the generic anatomy of the negative cycle, including the threat system, triggers, primary and secondary emotions, behaviors, relationship-based negative narratives, and contextual dynamics. It's your turn to detail your own experiences within the negative communication cycle you and your partner encounter. The contextual issues we are dealing with are: when I encounter certain triggers, whether internally or from my partner, such as my partner often experiences my secondary emotions, such as then they see me engage in certain behaviors, such as often during these moments I can feel physiological reactions within my body, such as when we are in conflicts, I often have negative thoughts about myself, my partner, or our futures, such as my partner persists in their reactive thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, this further triggers me, and around we go. What my partner doesn't hear about is that deep down, I'm really feeling primary emotions or core emotional experiences, such as behind my big feelings and reactive behaviors, there are more vulnerable needs and longings, such as